I really just decided to create a little space for women to support other women and had no intention or idea that it would end up being 5 million plus strong in over 100 countries across 30 plus industries. And once you go, it just keeps going. And I self-fund it because it's not work for me. I mean, this is purpose and passion. And I would say when purpose meets passion, you're unstoppable.
Hello, Shelley. How are you?
I'm so happy to be here with you.
Oh, thank you. And I am so incredibly honored. I cannot wait to ask you some questions and hear about your journey. And I want to hear about how you were growing up. I would have loved to have you as one of my friends as a younger girl. So can you give us a little bit of a snapshot of how you were when you were your younger self?
Wow. You know what? I am so blessed to have grown up in the most beautiful home that was just always filled with love. And I'm one of 4 girls. So actually, I was talking to my older sister. We shared a room, a bedroom, and I don't remember ever getting in a fight with her. We shared everything. And, all of my sisters, and, we range from, let's see, I'm 62. My older sister's 63. She's 14 months older than I am. And then my other sister, Shireen, is 59. And then my baby sister is 55, even though she looks 35.
I love the fact that you still call her your baby sister. Now, I only have one older sister. I was always the baby. It always annoyed me. And I have 4 boys, and they always call the younger one still a baby. So I love the fact that there's always that sort of pecking order. And the fact that you never fought, I was just sort of giggling because my sister and I were very close. We did fight, but it was always about clothing. So I love the fact that you're like, there was just this little shirt I really loved and probably used it without asking.
And I really do. It's a testament to my parents. They just raised us with such amazing values. And we traveled together as a family every Friday night for the Sabbath. We were always together. We spent quality time together and loved being together as a family. We had all of our friends come over. We'd play football in the front yard and have tennis games and matches and music. And it just was a happy home. And even still today, my mom lives on my street and comes every Friday night for dinner, and all my kids come over and all their friends come over. We just love being together.
And don't they say that that is true success when your adult children still want to spend time with you? I think for me, I would agree, being a mother of 4 boys, various ages and into adulthood. Isn't it such a great feeling that you can sort of be friends with not only your folks, but also with your children as they're raising children?
It's the respect. We just love being together. And, there's a healthy division between, parents and their children. We're not the best friend. I don't invade their life as their friend, but I love being with them, and we love being together as a family, and we chase total solar eclipses together, and we go on family vacations together, and they still have their own life and, all of that. It's not this claustrophobic thing, and the cousins all are together, and it's beautiful.
I love that. I know you're quite close with your mother as well. How is it for you as a young person watching your mother role model such strength?
It is the most incredible thing in the world. My mom is 88 years old and is the matriarch in the family. She didn't work full time when we were growing up. I mean, she always worked. She was in fundraising and, PTA president, and was the president of this foundation and president of that foundation, whatever that was. And then when we were a bit older, and my father was a cardiologist, my father passed 6 years ago, may he rest in peace. And they had such a beautiful relationship. And so my mother was always busy. I mean, the presidents of the world would know her by Rosalie. I mean, everyone knew Rosalie. It was like Cher, and then there's Rosalie. So always very instrumental in community and, things like that. And then ended up working for the governor of California. Pete Wilson was his senior policy advisor. Like all of a sudden went from fundraising to being the senior policy advisor to Pete Wilson, the governor of California, and then started the first conference for women in the state of California. So a powerhouse, and was a journalist, and,
So watching that had to affect you so profoundly. I'm going to say, God bless your mother. My mother's also 88. My father has also passed. So I know, the ties that you have to your family for me are the most important thing. There's so many, wonderful things we both have in our lives, but family for me is always everything. So, God bless your mother. And the fact that you still call her, the patriarch of the family is amazing. We call my mother the queen. We have this running joke and whatnot. But watching her do all of these things and now sort of seeing what you do, I just wonder, when was it for you that you sort of had that internal signal that you were made for a leadership role?
My mother always instilled in us confidence. I coined the phrase, confidence is beautiful. It's not what you look like on the outside. It's how you feel on the inside. We've always been raised as confident people. I always knew I could do anything I put my heart to. My parents always instilled that in us. You could do anything a boy can do, especially with my father having 4 daughters. I threw a perfect spiral football. We played football. We were athletes. There was nothing that we didn't think we could achieve.
I love that. And, my father was also my hero and role model. And so when I got out into, let's say, the real world and my first external signal that, oh, you can't do that because you're a girl, it was like, be still my beating heart. And it's funny how I always gravitate towards male dominated spaces. And I don't do that purposely. I just love what I do and do what I love. But for you, like you said, with your dad, having all these girls, and it was the same as my sister, myself, and my mom, it was always like my friends were, baking cookies or muffins, and I was building fences and doghouses, and I went and ate the cookies after. And I feel like that's such an important message because a lot of times the fellas in my life or, throughout the industry will say, are you one of those, people that don't like men? And I'm like, well, first of all, I live with 5 of them. I absolutely love men. My father, like your father, Edwin, was one of my first role models. And what a great job he did. And so I wonder, was it the same for you? And so for the fellas listening to this podcast, it is so important. I have a lot of dads also, and I'm sure you do too, that come to you and say, what's the most important thing I can do supporting my daughter? And we've got all our little things that we say, but I'm interested in what your father said and did for you and the girls. And you mentioned sports, and I want to get into that in a moment, but what was say 1 or 2 of the really big gifts that he gave to you?
First of all, I always say you can do it all your way. There's no such thing as work-life balance. It's work-life integration. And my father was a cardiologist. My father was the primary breadwinner while we were young, and my mother was raising the kids. So she was the primary caregiver. But then once we were out of the house, my mother became the primary breadwinner. I mean, she really started making quite the good living. My father wasn't the stay-at-home caregiver because we were all grown and out of the house, but they both were working and fulfilling their dreams of working. My mother was doing quite well financially, saving a lot of money and making her own investments and decisions. So my father didn't say, you need to be staying at home and don't work. So they were both working, which was amazing. But my father had a lust for life and instilled in me a no regret policy. Never look back and say shoulda, woulda, coulda. And he was the one that really taught all of us to live life with passion and curiosity and never save that money for the rainy day and tuck it under. So we lived life large with adventure. It wasn't about materialistic things. It was about living in the world. And so we chased total solar eclipses as a family. And every other year, we would receive a letter from my parents, and it would tell us where we were going. It was a mandatory family trip, and it would say, pack your bags on this date, meet on the plane, and we're going here. And it was where the eclipse was going to be. And so we went to China and to Galapagos and to Turkey and to, the most wherever the eclipse was, our family was there. And my parents would treat all of us to this remarkable experience. It was an expedition. And that's where and my father didn't believe in taking pictures because he said, it's a snapshot in your mind. you're going to never forget this trip because it's the feeling. And that is the truth. When my father passed, I like that, cry my eyelashes off. He left the box, and in the box, it were the things that, the most special things. It's not money. Like, I have his odometer, which was from his boat. We used to sail together. Like, it's the most precious gift I could ever have. And I didn't even know he had a bucket list, but I found these 2 pieces of paper, and it's called Visions Forever. And everything is checked on that list. The craters and waterfalls and like the wonders of the world. And they were all checked off. He did them all. And that's no regrets. He lived his life. He passed at 83, but he lived a full, amazing life filled with love, laughter, and joy. And to tell you that his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren love him so much and experienced such incredible life with him. And he's so connected to us. That's a life well lived.
That is a beautiful life well lived. I mean, I can't even get past some of the things you've said, aside from the taking the photos. It's such a good lesson for everybody. This is what we're going to remember. And for him to have, methodically thought out the boxes and the checklists. I was doing something with a women's initiative, and somebody asked me a question that totally sideswiped me. And I had tears the same way you did. And they said, if you could have dinner with anybody in the world, living or not, who would it be? And say my tears, I think I did actually, one of my eyelashes were stuck to the top of my thing. And I just said my dad, and everybody was like, oh, I thought you would have said Prince. You're a rock and roll girl. And I'm like, no, I didn't even have to think about it. And I never apologized for feeling my feelings. But one of the questions that I got was, as women, and in male dominated spaces, do we have to not show our emotions? And I said, absolutely not. And it's so beautiful. And I'm so grateful and thankful that you shared this moment with me, because I get the same reaction. And my dad's, I was very young. I was 21 when my dad passed, but I still get the same reaction. And they're not tears of sadness. They're tears of just, I miss you and I love you. And for you, what is that emotion when you talk about your dad? Feelings of obviously extreme love and gratitude.
Joy. And I'm so grateful. And I just feel so lucky to have had such an amazing influence in my life. And my father has shaped me to be the person I am. And I pay it forward all the time. And by the way, my mother is equally the role model. She's, thank God, still the driving force for me. And as a matter of fact, I received a very important leadership award recently. And I had my mother give me the award. I don't think anyone in the industry has ever had their mother actually give them an award. And my mother gave a whole speech to me. And I think just the other day, a woman came over to me and said, and the award was maybe over about a year ago. And the woman just 2 days ago came over to me and said, we're still all talking about your mother's speech. And my mom she's now 88. She was 87. And I flew her to New York. The award was in New York. We live in LA. And so my mom came to New York and gave the most incredible speech. And my mother, really, no one really knows what I do for a living in my family because it doesn't define us, So my mother was like, well, and just give me a little bit about what you're doing now. And, anyways, 10 minutes before the speech, she still wasn't even sure what she was going to say. It was like remarkable and meaningful and so memorable that people are still like talking about it. So my mom is quite something, I got to say.
Well, I can imagine, knowing who you are. And I knew you had, that's why a lot of my questions were sort of based around your upbringing and the importance of having those role models and those supports, because a lot of people sadly don't. And both of your parents are leaving, your father has left and continues to leave this beautiful legacy, as does your mother. And so I guess the question to you would be, you have created such beauty and strength and so much in the world. What would you want your legacy to be? What would you sort of want it to look like?
My children and my grandchildren being kind and generous and paying it forward. I'm so proud of them. So that to me is my legacy. And the work I do, but really is leaving a legacy of impact. I think that it's all around intentionality. And it's why I've opted in at this stage of my life to give back with generosity what I wish I had my entire career, which is this community of women supporting women and to close the gender gap in the workplace. I'm not going to leave it open, that's for sure. So it is to close it. And I'm committed to that.
Such a loyal, amazing following, obviously from all corners of the globe. Did you ever think when you started this, and I know your story and how it started, and if you want to share it quickly, I'd love you to. Did you ever think it would grow to be what it is today?
No, I had no idea. I did not think so at all. When I started, I really just decided to create a little space for women to support other women and had no intention or idea that it would end up being 5 million plus strong in over 100 countries across 30 plus industries. And once you go, it just keeps going. And I self-fund it because it's not work for me. This is purpose and passion. And I would say when purpose meets passion, you're unstoppable. And so the community itself is unstoppable and is fueling itself. And I'll keep going. So
exactly. No, you're amazing. So I've got a couple of more quick questions, but let's do something what I love to call sort of an unbreakable speed round. Since we're strapped for time, if you want to answer one or two words or a sentence, great. So I'll ask you just a couple of quick questions and I'll have two, closing questions. What is your favorite thing about yourself?
Probably passion.
What is a character trait that you most respect in others?
Loyalty.
What challenge in your life would you say shaped you the most?
This is probably something people don't know about me, but I wore a back brace. I had scoliosis. I probably still do, but in high school for a couple of years. And that was really challenging. And my mother always told me, "You're so beautiful." And I was a tennis player. You just got to own it. And I did. And I was one of the most popular girls in school.
I think it was because you owned it. My younger son has Tourette's and, I gave him the same advice and got bullied and it was very hard for him, but I said the same thing and continued. And now, people just accept him for who he is, which is beautiful. But more importantly, he accepts that's just part of him and he's good with it, right? You talk about.
Yeah, I just owned it. And I remember just making it a part of my body. And even during tennis, I would take it out and put it on a shelf and own it. And I was homecoming queen. It was like just a part of who I was. And I didn't let it affect me. When I found out I needed it, it tore me down. And it was my mother that just kept reinforcing how beautiful I was and made me believe that. And I had to believe in myself. I never actually have ever talked about that.
Going to say, and you continued to play sports with that. So I know we are all talking about the importance of women in sports and being recognized and many other things surrounding that. So one of my questions to you was, did you play sports? And obviously it's a hella yeah. Sounds like you played a lot of sports and you never let that obstacle stop you. So many people would have. What was it inside you? I know you talk about your mother and having the confidence, but it's like kids back in the day. Now braces are cool, but if they'd have braces or a headgear, it was, not so much. So what was it different for you growing up? Because that is huge.
I didn't wear it playing, obviously. So I didn't wear the brace playing. I loved sports. I didn't see it as a setback. I saw that it was going to correct my back and it wasn't an option for me. I needed to correct my back. It was just like a plastic thing around here. And I ended up with a tiny little waist from it and it cinched my waist. And it was like a Scarlett O'Hara little moment. I had a great tiny waist from it at the time.
And so just to sort of go forward with the sports, why do you think it's so important for women and girls of all ages to be involved in some kind of sport?
Sports is a team game. There's no I in team, and it's all about camaraderie and collaboration, and it's joyful. I mean, it's just such a great way to have friends and build confidence. I have always played sports, and it gets you out of the house. And to me, it gives you personality. And, and I was just telling someone that 94% of leaders in corporations played a team sport.
That's high. That's amazing. And, just to your point, it gives you so many things. I always say too, I'm a huge hockey person. There's so many things to learn on and off the ice, but it's not only about putting the little black thing in the net or keeping out of the net. It's about everything and the lessons you learn along the way, right? So
yeah, it's not about whether you win or lose. It's how you play the game. And I think that it really does teach you so many important lessons in life. And all my kids have played sports, multiple sports this season.
I love that. And it exposes them, like you said, to so many different things and so many different possibilities. I know, sadly, our interview is coming to an end. So I'm going to ask you sort of a closing question. What does it mean to you to be unbreakable? I mean, obviously, I Am Unbreakable is the name of the podcast. The struggle is part of the story is our tagline. But when people hear unbreakable, they say so many different things to me. So I'm just curious what you would say. What does it mean to you to be unbreakable?
Yeah, listen, truthfully, it's resilience. But for me, I always say when purpose meets passion, you're unstoppable. And when others zig, you zag. And for me, there's always a solution. You just got to find it. My father always told me there's no such thing as trying. You either do it or you don't. I remember we went to Bermuda or, some Bahamas or something. And we, one of four girls and we all went. My father said, do you want to go on a glass bottom boat? Like, I'll never forget this. And we all said, I don't know. I don't care. Ugh. And he looked at us and he said, are you all pumpkins? And we said, what? He said, you can either say yes or no, but I never want to hear you ever say you don't know or you don't care. And we were shocked. And I must have been like 12 or 13 years old. Like, I'll never forget that. And from that day on, it's the same thing as there's no such thing as trying. You either do it or you don't. You have to have an opinion. And it's the same thing as unbreakable. It's yes or no, have an opinion, but never not care about something. That's why I always say there's always a solution. You just have to find it. But there's always a yes. And I have always found a way. And that's why, I am unbreakable. I will always find a way. And to me, it's never in a textbook because that is just status quo. That's what everyone else does. And I'm not that.
Oh, you are not. It cannot find you in a textbook. And thank God for you, because you know what? At the end of the day, there's people like yourself out there. So everybody can look up to the wonderful things that you are sharing and the impact that you have on hundreds and thousands and millions of women. So thank you for being incredible, you. And I so appreciate you. All the best on your trip, and I can't wait to hear all the wonderful things you're going to be doing.
Well, I'm so grateful for you, and you are one of a kind as well. So here's to you and all that you do.